Today's guest is Chris Gilzean, owner and Salesforce architect of Appable CRM, the company behind Searchable. And Chris is also the co-leader of the Sacramento Salesforce User Group. He has 20 years experience in financial services, meaning he's been first on the front lines in branches and operations, and now is helping banks, credit unions, and insurers transform their CRMs. Few people know both sides of that equation like he does. Chris, welcome to Assembly Line.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm excited to be here today.
I am too. I'm really looking forward to learning more about Searchable and Appable CRM. So let's just get right into it. Maybe you could share with listeners how you entered into the Salesforce ecosystem, as well as explain Searchable, who the app is for, and what problems it solves.
Great. So getting started, I guess my Salesforce story is really more of an intentional admin, maybe not what you always hear. So getting started in Salesforce, I was an end user in 2011, and my first experience was I didn't like Salesforce. I was working in a call center. I was the call center team lead, and to me, it was extra logging that was unnecessary, and I didn't really understand from a training perspective. I think I thought it was a very different time then, and so just my experiences and over time, learning more and more about the Salesforce platform and really just falling in love with the tool and finding out that I could really build anything on this platform really changed my mind. But I think it's just kind of funny that I started out and my first experience with Salesforce is I wouldn't touch it.
and now look at you now, right?
Right. Yes. What's that? 14 years later. So
yeah, it's funny. I hadn't heard that. Of course, I've heard the accidental admin terms so many times, but intentional admin, I love it. Okay, and so bring us maybe to more recent memories. So, how did you decide to build out Searchable?
So I've been working as a Salesforce consultant for about 6 or 7 years now. So the majority of my work is in the financial services space, specifically wealth management, consumer banking, and commercial banking. And so Searchable really started out as a financial services specific tool. I had this kind of reoccurring challenge with users or complaints that users were just confused and they couldn't find the specific records in Salesforce that they were looking for. Salesforce Global Search, by the way, has come a long way as this one-size-fits-all search and can be really amazing. But what I was finding from users is there's so many times that we're looking for something exact, and the users like I was, the call center user, frontline that has that person on the phone with them right now and needs to find a record quickly. We really didn't have any tools out there, and so the idea really, started as something that I built custom Lightning Web Components or screen flows multiple times where companies would need a specific search where their users wanted to search by, say, the card number, account number, social security number, and phone number. So those four things. And really, that was all a user was ever going to search by. And so being able to create these kind of reusable searches, set your own filter criteria, choose what objects, what record type specifically we want to search. And then kind of as the process went along and building this app, I wanted it to be able to work with Financial Services Cloud or without. And so in doing that, Searchable also needed to be able to work with Salesforce standard objects and your custom objects. And by the time it was done, it ended up being so configurable that it works with any industry clouds. And so rather than being a financial services specific tool, it's now been released to the market and is something that can be used for all kinds of use cases. So really exciting to see the use cases that our early customers are using and building these searches that are things that honestly I wouldn't have even thought of.
Yeah, well, search is certainly a feature that everybody needs, right? Even outside the Salesforce ecosystem, it's huge. But it's interesting that you started in a niche and then realized, hey, this has general applicability to all industries. I'm curious. Today, are you, in terms of your marketing, are you casting a wider net, or are you still kind of focusing in the financial industry more with your messaging, despite the fact that it has general applicability?
Yeah, I think that the early on for any app, the most successful messaging is going to be personal network, which for me just happens to be financial services. And so while the marketing go-to-market strategy is a little bit more general and really, I guess, starting to get stronger as others build and find additional use cases and kind of start to show the product. But really with the initial, we've been live for about 45 days now. And so with the initial marketing, it is targeted towards the financial services industry with an expectation later that may branch out.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, honestly, just to stay laser targeted, especially in the early days, and then eventually cast a wider and wider net. So we initially met at Texas Dreamin' back. Gosh, when was that? Was that June or July? I can't recall now. But at any rate, I know since then I went on home. You went on to two more Dreamin' events. So you've really been running the Salesforce Dreamin' circuit here.
Yeah, really amazing. I mean, so let's see. Texas Dreamin', I believe, was the first week in July, and then had the opportunity to make it out to Midwest Dreamin' in Minneapolis and Buckeye Dreamin' in Ohio, all in the month of July. And so, for myself, I'm in Northern California, so I've been fortunate that I am pretty close to the Salesforce offices and have been able to attend Dreamforce in the past. And then every year I always make sure to do TDX in San Francisco. That's my kind of favorite conference of the year as a developer myself. And so, yeah, since I got started in the Salesforce ecosystem and made that kind of intentional switch to be a full-time Salesforce consultant and developer, I have made it a point to get as involved as possible. And so there's a NorCal Dreamin', or it was previously in South Lake Tahoe, soon to be in Reno this next year. And so just kind of amazing how many people you meet at these local conferences and how helpful that's been to me as I go through this process. Just, people like you that I met that have kind of gone down the same path before. And I think it was just really amazing to me seeing how helpful other partners in the ecosystem are, and just in general, how lively the Salesforce community still is.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're recording this now mid-August. So about a month away from Dreamforce 2026. Are you planning to also attend Dreamforce?
I am going to be attending.
Okay.
We won't have a booth out there, but we'll definitely be attending.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, because the Dreamin' events are great because the big show Dreamforce and then the world tours, and I'm a big fan of TDX as well. But there's also something nice about the Dreamin' events where the fact that they're smaller is kind of a feature, not a bug.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can have more those water cooler conversations a little bit easier when it's a slightly smaller group. Very cool. So you mentioned how you started this idea kind of was born out of consulting projects. I've had a lot of folks on the show with a similar background. They basically a problem that they see again and again and among clients, and realize that maybe this should just be solved using a product versus services one by one. Did you just build the solution immediately because you'd done it multiple times? Did you do any more product validation or try and chat with anyone that wasn't already working with Appable CRM to see if there was kind of a desire in the general market?
Yeah, and so it definitely kind of morphed as the process went on again. So early on, I think, starting Appable, I had a list of ideas, and I think like most builders, we probably have more ideas than time for things that we've, considered building over the years. And so search was just something that kept coming up, but I couldn't quite put my finger on one problem to solve. The complaint from users was, I can't find anything in my Salesforce org. There wasn't really a specific actionable insight so much. And so I got so much out of just sitting with end users and, asking, well, I forget who I stole this from, but a better Salesforce consultant than myself would always ask, "What do you hate about Salesforce?" And you
Hmm.
get so much out of that initial questions with users. It really puts them at ease and flushes out kind of just the root of their challenges that they experience on a day-to-day basis. And um, over the last couple of years, I've gotten a lot more into the search manager functionality, and the native out of the box search manager has really drastically improved based on the feedback from the Salesforce community. And so, if you go on the Idea Exchange, there's actually an entire category just for search.
Well,
Where the Salesforce community has been submitting these ideas. And so a lot of these ideas have actually been delivered or partially delivered over the years. Some of them are still out there, but it's been just amazingly helpful to me to be able to go out and essentially read these really great requirements that have been collected by the Salesforce ecosystem and submitted, and being able to include these features in the searchable app. Um, and so, yeah, it's been a lot of things. So from the beginning, I had um, you know a some really supportive early clients that knew exactly what they wanted. But it was important to be able to get as many different ideas as possible and bring in as many users early in the process. And yeah, just start those interviews early and talk to anybody that was open.
yeah. That's so smart. I think that you did that, and I love the idea of treating the idea exchange as basically your own personal crowdsourced product roadmap. That's a great resource that I think a lot of ISVs could make better use of. Probably, I didn't even realize that I had an entire category for search. So that's it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like curated for you.
And it's not one thing. I mean, at first it seemed like, okay, well, these are a lot of very diverse ideas from, for example, the lookup or the out of the box lookup field on a record page. And initially I thought, well, that's not really search. But by the end of it, it was the number one idea that was in that category, and so it just had to be included in the searchable app. And so, just yeah, it's really really amazing that even now, as Salesforce has continued to release features within the native search manager, and so you can actually do query customizations based and have a search configuration that is built for each profile in your org.
Hmm.
The challenge is we've been trying to get people away from profiles and moving towards permission sets for a long time. So you may only have two profiles in your org. Maybe it's system administrator and something like a base user or standard user. Um, and so the configurations that you're building aren't necessarily that you could do on a team by team basis. And so I have the you know amazing fortune of being able to take this feedback that users are submitting about the out of the box product and see how we can cater that to the searchable app, and essentially be able to take something that's one size fits all, and then and obviously, like with Searchable, we're not trying to replace global search. We want to help you use global search better as well, and set up your query configurations in your org, setting your top objects to search, and there are a lot of easy things that orgs could do to make their Salesforce org more searchable out of the box. Um, and so, yeah, really, really amazing just how the product has come over the last couple of years, and just being able to key on that feedback, and yeah, the Salesforce community is really good at collecting that feedback and being able to turn it into something actionable.
Yeah. That's so it's interesting because I think some ISVs have an idea for a product, and if they see that Salesforce in any way, shape, or form plays in that space at all, they immediately feel like they need to shut down that idea because how could I compete with this 800-pound gorilla in the room? Um, but I like that you point out, there's room for both. Even there's room for, of course, like multiple vendors in any given space, and there's even room for vendors to play in a space even when there's some native functionality supported, either because the native functionality leaves something to be desired, or there's some sort of like better together story that the ISV can tell by leveraging both the native features that Salesforce offers as well as their product. So um, I think it's good for a lot of listeners out there to recall that or to remember that just because Salesforce is in the space with some sort of native feature doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing.
Absolutely. And there are, we were talking about the idea exchange, and there's so many ideas out there, and obviously every release, new items are being covered. But um, yeah, it's amazing what you can do in Salesforce, and there's just not enough hours in the day to deliver every feature out there. So, as an ISV, there is always a risk that when you go to market with a original idea, that it could be something that Salesforce includes in a future release, and that would be great for customers being able to. We always talk about like build versus buy, and so with the uh, AppExchange and being able to find free or paid apps that you're doing on paying on a monthly basis, being able to essentially rent and solve a really basic problem. Not to say that the issue is simple, but it's issues that a lot of orgs deal with, and being able to essentially rent a solution to solve that issue for you. And and the Salesforce product is obviously going to continue to grow, and over time, I'm sure that some of the features that Searchable offers are going to later be covered in Salesforce Global Search, and we'll keep building and keep covering the additional use cases that our customers are asking for. And so, as global search improves, we're going to improve. But like I said, it's not really in competition with Salesforce. The goal is really to help make your whole org searchable using global search better, and also using Searchable to create those very specific searches that you need in your org. Being able
Yeah.
to extend your flows to include complex multiple object searches, and so just so many different things that you can do, and the use cases really are just going to keep growing over the years, I think.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, again, like some folks are scared when they see that Salesforce plays in this space, but there's another way to look at it as an opportunity, because I've spoken with ISV founders that just connect outright with the PMs of the native function. I'm not sure if this is a strategy that y'all have employed at Appable with your searchable product, but a lot of these PMs at Salesforce, they're very open to having discussions with ISVs and vendors about, hey, these are the things that customers are asking for that we're thinking about building, and these are the things that we know we'll never build. So maybe you want to go build this. There are a lot of PMs that are very open to having those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. And so far, not really something that we've focused on, but we were talking about the Salesforce community conferences and kind of being smaller. And I have met so many Salesforce employees and product managers that are just out talking to people at these community conferences or hanging out at TDX after True to the Core. And so the Salesforce team has really made themselves very accessible to customers, partners, builders. And so that's honestly a really great idea to just get out and talk to the product owners at Salesforce more. And maybe there's, something on the roadmap that you can get insights about, or just kind of, getting ideas for the future, what they're hearing. So yeah, really, really great idea, Scott.
Yeah. Well, and even you mentioned the IdeaExchange, like I know they do a whole, you can follow the points, right? And then they can, I forget now what they call it, but you can tell, I think they just call it prioritizing. You can see the ideas they've prioritized. So even without a conversation, I guess you can get some insights into their roadmap using the IdeaExchange, like you mentioned. I want to also just kind of double click on the whole community aspect, because earlier in the show, I mentioned how you serve as the co-leader of the Sacramento Salesforce Group. I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about your involvement there, and how that came about, and how that's been a resource for the Appable team and for building out Searchable.
Great. Well, and that's I guess a little bit separate from Apple, and just I don't know. So I've been attending the group for about 5 or so years. And so early in my Salesforce journey between the Sacramento Salesforce Group and NorCal Dreamin', that was, kind of when I was getting started. I had done a whole bunch of Trailhead, got a couple certifications. And then as a consultant, you're kind of just, thrown to the wolves and figure it out. And so it was really great being able to go to these events and um, not just meet other people, but so many helpful people that if I was experiencing a problem or stuck with something, I could show somebody at these events or kind of just bounce ideas off of people. So I I guess this last year I got the opportunity. So one of the co-leaders of the Sacramento Salesforce Group got a job working at Salesforce, and so that meant that she needed to kind of step down from her position. And so I was asked if it was something that I would be interested in joining. And so we get together every couple months. Actually, next Tuesday we're going to be meeting at Log Off Brewery in Rancho Cordova. If anybody's listening and wants to join, so a little bit different than usual. This time we're going to be talking about MuleSoft, and so it should be a really awesome presentation. And we have a user group, but it is honestly all like applicable to all levels, admins, developers, architects, and really there's something there for everybody. And so at this point, I have had the opportunity to talk about Salesforce and these events. We usually will go over kind of what's coming out with the most recent Salesforce releases, and then some kind of technical session. So like our most recent, I was talking about Agent Script and the kind of switch to the new Agent Builder and deterministic Agent Script processing and how that changes compared to what Agentforce looked like a year ago. And so with the local groups, topics are always different, but really something for everybody. You can always learn something new, and then definitely like that's been the best networking opportunities. And so I think for the ISVs out there that are kind of just getting started, um, the cold marketing really wasn't successful for me. Launching Searchable, it was all personal network. It was people that I met 5 years ago that the way the Salesforce ecosystem works is just kind of the people that put themselves out there and create content end up doing well in the ecosystem. And so that's not really something that's part of the Appable business, obviously. And that's something where, as an ISV though, it really is helpful to already have that kind of personal brand built before you even start working in the ISV space.
Sure. Yeah. I've heard from so many founders how important it is to just embrace your network and lean into the community aspect, especially in the early days, but honestly, all throughout. So that's very cool. You mentioned, speaking of early days, so you mentioned that you're now about 45 days since your listing went live. So it's still pretty early days for Searchable.
Mhm.
Given that you're fairly new to the Agent Exchange, and you were just talking about Agent Script, which is great because I wanted to steer the conversation toward Agentforce. I know that the listing is live for the core app of Searchable, but my understanding is you're also in the process of releasing a tie-in to Agentforce. Is that right?
Yeah, so we have a add-on the base managed package Searchable is a native Salesforce application, does not require Agentforce at all to use, and so the base application is Lightning Web Component based. The kind of add-on Searchable for Agentforce is a free add-on and is um, yeah, so it's something that we're hoping to have live before Dreamforce, but obviously it's August now, so we're kind of running on a tight deadline there, so no guarantees. But with Searchable for Agentforce, some of the things that we can do. So when you're looking at the search results using Agentforce, we can get a AI summary of the record before clicking on it. So if you're looking at a list of contacts and accounts, being able to get that kind of quick summary where you can see read all the tasks, events, notes for this specific record that you're looking at, and get a little bit more context on the record before actually clicking into it. The other really cool use case, probably my favorite use case to be honest, with Searchable for Agentforce, is you can actually use Agentforce to set up your out-of-the-box search manager, global search configurations, and vice versa. So what I mean by that is Searchable comes with a builder where you can choose your own custom objects. You're picking what fields you want to search on. You can even search on fields on parent records. So like if you want to search based on a field on the parent account, that's something that you can do in our app. So using our Agentforce extension, we can actually take those configurations that you build and use that to improve your global out-of-the-box search configurations, and using what objects are most important to you, what fields you're keying on, and there are some things that don't necessarily carry over exactly. And so like, for example, we were talking about searching on parent fields is not something that you can do natively, but you can do in the Searchable app. Another example would be searching on formula fields, just not something that's supported in global search at this time. But yeah, so really, really excited about that. And then, and just being able to help Salesforce company or Salesforce customers use their global search better, and take all this work and use the configurations that you've already created to get the Searchable app up and running quickly too.
That is very cool. I think pretty much every ISV out there right now, if they haven't already, is thinking about releasing an extension package to support Agentforce. And I think everyone is thinking about that in terms of product features solely. How can I expand my current functionality using AI? And there are a number of applications out there that do require a good amount of hand-holding and setup and config initially. And that is a great idea to maybe even your Agentforce extension package is really more about just reducing your own support load and reducing onboarding friction for your customers to make it easy to set up your application. Of course, I know Searchable then also has functionality that's also provided from Agentforce that you were going over, but even just having help with the configuration, that's huge. It just makes it that much easier for the subscriber to immediately start getting value out of the app.
Exactly. Yeah. And Searchable comes with some search templates. And so you can get started on the base app in 15 minutes, or I think the installation video and basic setup, the entire video from start to finish is 18 minutes long. So not a very long process, but when you start building your search configurations using Agentforce, we can check and see what kind of what objects you're using. Check record counts, like your based on your data storage, and see based on your data storage what objects are kind of most important in your org, what fields are typically have a value. And so this information is really important and valuable to be able to create searches on your custom objects. And so while using the builder, it is easy to go through and pick this if you already know. But if you don't, and you just want a way to really get up and running in 5 minutes, it's awesome for these kind of starter templates. And going back to something we were talking about earlier with not wanting to compete with Salesforce. And so when it comes to the first use case, we talked about record summaries and being able to look at notes and tasks and events. I do think that's a really useful use case, but at the same time, Salesforce also offers record summaries, and I have a feeling that they're probably going to do it better at some point, and that's going to just continue to get better. And so while I think the record summaries is something that is very useful right now, I do think that feature in the Searchable for Agentforce app might be obsolete, but the kind of employee setup tasks is something that I just don't see I don't really see that going away anytime soon. And with all the new stuff that's come out for Search Manager over the last couple of years, just going to kind of be more and more important to put a little bit of time into setting up these configurations for your users.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm thinking now. So, um, with some viewers and listeners may recall last year, Salesforce was really making a big push to promote building out these extension packages that support Agentforce that you all have done. And at the time, one of the incentives they were promoting was waive security review fees and prioritized security review in general. I know you just said that the extension package for Searchable that supports Agentforce is free. Um, so I think that kind of the security review fee waivers is a bit moot. But um, like you mentioned, Dreamforce is coming up. Y'all probably would like to get a review soon. Do you know, is Salesforce still prioritizing and bumping up in the queue these Agentforce extension packages? Is this something that ISV should be laser focused on right now because they'll get eyeballs that much faster?
Yeah, so I don't know as far as what the current timeline is. Honestly, my experience with the security review is not what I expected, and that the main searchable managed package uh, went through security review 6 months ago, and it actually only took a week, and that was for a paid listing. So by the way, just to avoid confusion, the searchable managed package is $8 per user per month. The Agentforce add-on is free. And so it's my understanding that an Agentforce app, generally you could apply for a fee waiver on the security review, but yeah, definitely check with somebody that knows more than I do on that. Or if it's a free listing, oftentimes you can get a waiver that way as well. So personally, I'm not really sure kind of what the expected turnaround time is on an Agentforce app compared to I don't know, a native application that's not Salesforce, or if you have a non-native application, what that looks like as far as the timeline. But at least for a native Salesforce application, my experience was actually a pretty quick turnaround. I think my biggest key learning was that I should have submitted my listing quite a bit earlier, and so there was a time where uh, the security review I think was taking a little bit longer, um, and Salesforce has really made an effort to remove that bottleneck. At least from my experience, I didn't really, everything was well documented. I just submitted my documentation, did my automated code analyzer and check marks and all of that. And yeah, following all the documentation that was out there, I found the experience to kind of be easier than what I had initially expected, to be quite honest.
That's great. And honestly, I do remember now you mentioning this at Texas Streamer when we chatted, and thinking that was incredible. But I have heard from a few other vendors that they're really working through their queue a lot faster than they used to. And I think probably leaning on these tools, like you mentioned, Code Analyzer, and then Checkmarks has been around a long time, of course, but only in the past few years has Code Analyzer been part of the documentation you need to upload as well. So I think those tools make it a little easier for the reviewers. So but that's great. It's always
Yeah,
nice to get through it that fast.
but I would not recommend waiting until the month before Dreamforce to submit your app, because I think everybody's submitting right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
your results might vary.
But you mentioned that you wish you had submitted the listing a little earlier. I think a lot of folks do focus on purely the code aspect, right? And the product, the tool, um, the security review of the app itself, and less about kind of the listing and business review that it gets involved with that. And I have heard from other people uh, getting in a waiting game for approval there. So it sounds like I think a lot of people don't realize you can be working on both in parallel.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know if it's always been this way, but you can submit your listing or your security review first. You can actually do either one first, and so
Hmm.
the processes are kind of independent of each other. And so I think that would be one thing that I would have done differently is just early on in the process, creating the listing. It really helps to be able to just kind of think through your marketing language, what problem we're trying to solve for, and making sure that before you, I guess, spend time and money on a security review, if you want to, you can submit it and get feedback from Salesforce early in the process. And so that was something that I just found really helpful, being able to work with the Salesforce ISV team, and they had really good feedback that helped me to get get my marketing language together. And so yeah, I'm just a developer at heart, so I kind of focused on the coding part and the documentation and all of that. And so um, I don't know, others might have different. I guess results from this. In my case, I probably spent more time than I needed to documenting, and so maybe that helped with the security review process and just having everything that I submitted. So yeah, so I would say there's nothing stopping you when you first start building from submitting your listing at that time, and just starting to think through who your ideal target market is, and what problem you're solving for is something that, before you even write a line of code, can really be helpful to start putting things together.
Sure. Yeah. Keeping that top of mind is so important. Makes a lot of sense. Um, Well, we should probably wrap up soon, but before we do, we've been chatting about kind of the journey so far, and I'm curious about what's to come as well. So obviously, you got your first Dreamforce for Searchable around the corner. I'm curious to know, where you seeing things going in the next year or so as you build out and hopefully get live your Agentforce plugin. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Appable team may be working on another complementary application as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so another application or managed package is also Salesforce native, which is called Stageable. No firm, I guess, launch date on that one yet. So, but yeah, really, excited. I the let's see. Apple is going to continue to build Salesforce native applications, most
Hmm.
likely. So there are enough use cases that are coming up that are native on the platform, that I think there's kind of a lot to continue to work on. And so um, Apple is going to continue to be a consulting business, but the goal is really to move more towards solving problems with configurable apps rather than hourly billing. And so Apple is not really the traditional startup in the sense that um, there's no like investor backing. The company is really just a consulting company that uh, we had the opportunity to start building some reusable applications, and the goal is really just to continue getting those initial customers in new industries. And so while the financial services space is fairly well covered, being able to kind of continue to branch out and get clients sharing their examples in, say, healthcare, nonprofit orgs, and yeah, really just continuing down that path, and hopefully listening to users, and I guess staying true to the idea exchange and the great work that the community is already putting out there, and letting us know exactly what it is that your users need.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to watching the Appleable team, and it's I talk with a lot of other ISVs that have made transitions from kind of an SI model, and while that's a great model as well, some folks have said there's always only 24 hours in a day, so if you can get away from hourly billing, then suddenly you can scale a lot better. So I know a lot of consultants that have gone down the same path it sounds like the Appable team has, where they've built up a lot of great experience with SI projects, found a niche market, financial services in your case, and then been able to turn that into a product that they can then grow and scale, and transition the company that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just excited about the future and the changes that are coming with the agent exchange, and so honestly, yeah, it's been a really great experience so far. We're still kind of new as an ISV partner, and so yeah, I think there's probably still a lot to figure out, but we're excited about the future and apps that we have in the pipeline that are not yet public to users, and so just kind of keep building and keep working with our customers, and excited to see what comes out of this.
Awesome. Well, Chris, for any viewers or listeners out there that want to learn more about you or learn more about Searchable or Appable, the company, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you or learn more?
Absolutely. So the website is appablecrm.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I have a fairly unique last name, so probably not a ton of us out there. Or you can email me directly at chris@appablecrm.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will link all that in the show notes. Chris, thank you once again so much for coming on Assembly Line. It's been great chatting with you, and I really look forward to watching your journey ahead. And best of luck with Searchable's first Dreamforce in about a month.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Scott.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.